This is Batman, A Death in the Family, A Reflection by Michael Uecker. Okay, so Jason Todd. Being Batman's second Robin, I initially thought less of him just because I was used to Dick Grayson's character. Whereas I feel like Jason Todd was impulsive, cocky, however he was strong and determined. He was impulsive because he let his emotions get the best of him. Unlike the disciplined and easygoing Dick Grayson, Jason was much more quick to anger, and that led to him acting recklessly. He seemed cocky to me just because, at least comparing to Dick Grayson, Jason always thought of himself in a more narcissistic way. His persona was stronger, which made him, he was stronger and more convincing than Dick because he was more feared, which definitely made him different from Dick Grayson's Robin. However, he was strong. He dealt with those who committed crime in a very strong, stern way, taking a less moral approach than Batman and, than Dick. This also made Jason a more compelling character because it was different than what I was used to in a superhero or comic book. And he was also determined. For example, he always stuck to his word and set out what he needed to do, like whenever he went to Ethiopia to save his mom that he thought had been dead for years. And then after the explosion, or I guess during the explosion, I really thought it was a shame what ended up happening to Jason, given that the whole reason he was in Ethiopia was to find his mother, that he, again, thought that had been dead. That kind of left him as an orphan. The fact that, and then once he got there, the fact that she betrayed him because of the Joker had set that trap, it kind of gave me empathy towards Todd's character. However, at the same time, it was his ambitious, spontaneous impulse to go and find his mother that, let's be honest, it was a pretty clear trap set by the Joker. And just because this fact, it makes it more difficult to feel sorry for Todd because it was his own fault. And then the vote. I voted to let Jason Todd die for a few reasons, such as superhero stereotypes, a change in perspective, and I honestly just like Dick Grayson's character better as Robin. First off, growing up, I was a huge Marvel comics and movie fan. Less so DC, but I was still a fan of Batman and the Man of Steel movies. So I really was used to seeing movies with a good ending, where the good guys won and the bad guys got killed or destroyed, whatnot. Or not killed, but brought to justice. But obviously that didn't happen in this, which is kind of similar to Infinity War in the Marvel comic world, which honestly is my favorite Marvel movie just because of that ending is so unexpected. It just creates a more compelling story. And I felt the same way with Jason Todd in this case. This change of perspective from the expected happy ending to the heartbreak Batman experiences made me feel much more connected to Batman as a person, as well as more interested in the story. And the last reason, I just simply enjoyed Dick Grayson as Robin more. I feel like Dick Grayson is more of what Robin should be, which is kind of like the sidekick. Whereas I feel like Jason Todd kind of took away from Batman's character because he was kind of doing his own thing, not really following the same rules that Batman was. And I know this is a little kind of different from what I just said, just because I did say I like those different storylines, but yeah. And then did Batman change? I do believe Batman's demeanor changed after Jason Todd was killed. Bruce Wayne himself was close to Jason, and he kind of acts like a father figure towards him, just because he kind of picked him up off the street whenever he was stealing the tires off of the Batmobile. But then after his death, Batman, it seems he became more determined. He was a little bit darker and introspective. When I say determined, I just mean he sees the battle with the Joker as a much more personal battle. He is now more focused on getting the revenge rather than he is just stopping other crimes. And then darker, what I mean by that is he kind of starts taking a different approach to fighting crime. He kind of began acting more like Jason Todd would have, kind of less, kind of more brutal, less arrest him and take him to law, but more punish him right there. And he just wants revenge and revenge only. And then introspective, obviously Bruce Wayne is a reclusive person in general, but after Todd's death, it seemed like he was even more to himself, just kind of giving himself more time to process the loss and think about what he could do to get back at the Joker. And then my honest review. Typically, I'm not a huge fan of comic books just because I find it a little hard to read. However, I really do appreciate the complex storylines, along with the fan interaction segment, kind of voting voting if Jason Todd dies. I thought that was really cool. Just that kind of stuff that happens in the story I really appreciate. I feel as though the comics is very easy to follow and and you get to experience the character changes that Batman did. And then the inclusion of both Robins really creates an interesting dynamic, giving the reader, at least in my opinion, an opportunity to compare each of them, kind of figure out which Robin character you like better. And I really enjoyed reading this comic and would definitely be interested in going down more of those rabbit hole, just down the rabbit hole of Batman comics and comics in general. Alright, that's the end. Thank you.